Have you ever found yourself in a room full of people, yet still felt disconnected? Have you ever wondered, why do I feel like I need to be alone to think clearly? You're not alone in this. In fact, it's normal to need solitude. But here's the truth: solitude isn't about isolation, it's about unlocking something deeper within. In a world that constantly pulls at our attention, the power of solitude is often underestimated. In the quiet moments, we tap into creativity, inspiration, and problem-solving abilities that are hard to reach in the hustle of everyday life. Today, let's dive into how spending time alone can supercharge your creativity and allow you to connect to your most innovative self. Solitude creates the perfect environment for deep thought. It's the stillness that allows us to process the complexities of our lives, our work, and our dreams. When we're alone, we can reflect on our past, analyze our present, and envision our future. But reflection isn't just a passive activity, it's a transformative one. When you're alone, your mind isn't distracted by outside influences or opinions. It's just you, your thoughts, and the space to let your ideas unfold. This is when your most creative ideas are born. Think about it. When was the last time you had an epiphany? Chances are, it came when you were alone. It could have been in the shower, walking outside, or sitting quietly in your room. When the noise fades, your brain goes into a different state of focus. Your mind is no longer crowded with others' voices, which allows you to hear your own. That's the magic of solitude. It's in these quiet moments that we begin to understand ourselves better. We tap into our intuition and uncover insights that would have otherwise stayed hidden. There's something sacred about stillness, a quiet that doesn't just exist around you, but within you. In solitude, we finally step out of the noise, the scroll, the notifications, the expectations. And in that silence, something begins to shift. It's subtle at first. A thought you've been pushing away gently resurfaces. A feeling you haven't made time to explore begins to knock again. The truth is, in our loud, fast-paced world, we rarely stop to truly listen. Solitude isn't just about being alone, it's about creating the space to come home to yourself. It's a pause from the external to connect with the internal. When you're alone, without distractions pulling at your attention, your mind becomes a mirror, reflecting what's really going on beneath the surface. Suddenly, you're not just reacting to life, you're observing it. You're examining your beliefs, unpacking old emotions, untangling your thoughts, and beginning to make sense of your story. That's the quiet power of reflection. It's a return to intentional living. You begin to ask better questions, not just, "What should I do next?" but, "Why am I doing it?" and, "What actually matters to me?" This kind of reflection isn't passive or soft. It's an act of courage. To sit with yourself, fully and honestly, is to say, "I'm ready to know who I really am beneath all the noise." And in that brave stillness, creativity begins to rise, not forced, not scheduled, just there, waiting for you. You've probably felt it before, those strange, beautiful moments of sudden clarity. A solution to a problem that had you stuck for days suddenly clicks while you're brushing your teeth. A brilliant idea sparks while you're walking alone with no particular destination. That isn't coincidence. That's your mind finally having the room to breathe. Because when we give ourselves silence, our subconscious begins to speak. You don't need a mountaintop or a meditation retreat, just the willingness to stop and listen. In solitude, you're not performing. You're not comparing. You're not curating your life for an audience. You're simply present. And in that presence, you start to remember who you are without the labels, without the pressure, without the filters. Reflection becomes a creative playground, where imagination is free to roam, where your ideas are safe to stretch and grow, where you're allowed to dream again. It's in the journal entry no one else will read, the sketch you make just for fun, the question you write in the margins of a book. These quiet acts of reflection aren't just good for your creativity, they feed it. Because creativity doesn't thrive under pressure, it thrives in presence, in permission, in stillness. So if you've been feeling stuck, uninspired, overwhelmed, don't run further into the noise. Try going the other way. Try going quiet. Try going in. Because sometimes, the most profound breakthroughs don't come when we chase them. They come when we finally pause long enough to let them find us. Creativity is not a lightning strike, it's a quiet flicker that grows brighter in stillness. In solitude, the brain enters a space of openness, of mental wandering, where ideas aren't forced, they're discovered. Yet in today's world, this environment is increasingly rare. We live in a culture that rewards constant output, endless scrolling, and the glorification of busyness. Notifications buzz like flies. The pressure to respond, produce, and perform never seems to end. But creativity does not thrive in noise. It does not emerge when you're overwhelmed, overstimulated, or overcommit. Creativity comes when your mind finally has room to breathe. When you're alone and uninterrupted, your brain naturally slips into a state known as default mode network, a neurological state associated with self-reflection, imagination, and most importantly, creative ideation. It's the fertile soil where daydreams take root and bloom into fully formed ideas. And this isn't just theory, it's backed by science. Studies show that the brain becomes significantly more capable of divergent thinking, that is, generating multiple, original solutions to a single problem, when we're in a relaxed, solitary state. That moment when you lose track of time while writing, painting, designing, or thinking deeply? That's not wasted time. That's where genius lives. And yet, we've been conditioned to fear solitude, to mistake it for loneliness or unproductiveness. But what if solitude is not the absence of productivity, but the very source of it? The most brilliant minds in history, Einstein, Tesla, Virginia Woolf, Maya Angelou, understood the value of solitude not as isolation, but as inspiration. Their time alone was a sacred part of their process. It wasn't a luxury, it was a necessity. Because to create something original, something that has never existed before, you must first disconnect from the influence of what already exists. You must leave the echo chamber. You must turn down the volume of the outside world so you can hear the whisper of your own ideas. Solitude becomes a sanctuary where your thoughts are safe to stretch beyond the expected. It gives you permission to experiment without judgment, to explore without fear of failure, to be messy, nonlinear, and radically inventive. And this isn't limited to artists or authors, it applies to anyone. If you're an entrepreneur seeking your next breakthrough, a student working on a passion project, a teacher with a vision, a parent dreaming of something new, solitude is your secret weapon. It's the place where your ideas aren't filtered through approval, where your intuition gets a voice, where the pressure to get it right softens, and the space to try something new opens. In solitude, you rediscover that your creativity is not something you have to chase. It's something that's been waiting for you all along. All it needed was your attention. Another incredible benefit of solitude is its ability to enhance problem-solving skills. We've all been there, staring at a problem or challenge, feeling stuck, unsure of what to do next. But when we give ourselves the space to think deeply and clearly, the solution often appears. When you're alone, there are fewer distractions pulling your focus. It's just you and the problem at hand. This creates an environment for deep focus and insight. Without interruption, your mind can explore multiple angles, test different approaches, and find creative ways to overcome obstacles. Many creative breakthroughs come when we allow our minds to wander and explore, often in solitude. Whether it's a new way to approach a work task, a solution to a personal dilemma, or even an innovative idea for a business, moments of quiet reflection allow us to see the bigger picture. Problem solving is often portrayed as a fast-paced, high-pressure activity, teams gathered in boardrooms, whiteboards filled with scribbles, urgency in the air. But what if the most effective problem-solving happens not in the chaos, but in the quiet? Solitude gives you a rare and powerful advantage, the ability to step back, slow down, and truly think. When you're alone, you're not being pulled in different directions by meetings, opinions, or demands. There's no need to multitask or perform. It's just you, your thoughts, and the space between them. And in that space, clarity begins to rise. You start to see what was previously hidden, connections between ideas, overlooked details, fresh perspectives. Your brain moves beyond the surface level chatter and begins engaging with problems at a deeper level. Neuroscience supports this. During solitary moments, especially those that allow the mind to wander, the brain activates what's known as the default mode network, a key player in strategic thinking, introspection, and yes, problem solving. This is why we often experience aha moments when we're not actively trying to solve anything, like during a walk, a shower, or while quietly sipping a coffee alone. Those aren't coincidences. That's your brain finally being given the freedom to connect dots it couldn't reach while distracted. Solitude becomes a mental whiteboard, where ideas have room to expand and rearrange. You're no longer reacting, you're consciously creating. Whether it's untangling a conflict, refining a strategy, or reimagining a life decision, the clarity found in solitude can be the turning point between confusion and solution. This is why some of the world's most effective thinkers, leaders, inventors, creatives, schedule solitude into their routines. It's not a luxury. It's part of the process. From Steve Jobs to Bill Gates, from Maya Angelou to Nikola Tesla, solitude wasn't just downtime, it was strategic time. It allowed them to return to their work not with the same thoughts they left with, but with sharper, more refined ideas. They weren't afraid to walk away from the noise, because they knew that distance gives perspective. And perspective is everything when solving complex problems. Solitude also helps strip away the emotional fog that often clouds decision-making. When you're constantly surrounded by voices, some encouraging, some doubting, some pressuring, it's easy to lose your sense of direction. But when you step into solitude, the noise fades, and you're left with your own inner compass. You start to distinguish your true priorities from the ones that have been projected onto you. You gain the emotional distance to see a situation objectively, to ask, "What am I missing?" Or, "Is this really the problem I think it is?" You shift from reacting to responding. You become not just a thinker, but a strategic thinker. And here's the real beauty. Solitude doesn't require hours of retreat or a cabin in the woods. Sometimes all it takes is 10 minutes of uninterrupted silence. A notebook. A walk without your phone. A closed door. These small windows of solitude, when approached with intention, become powerful problem-solving laboratories. So the next time you're stuck on a decision, a creative block, a personal challenge, try stepping away. Step into stillness. Give yourself permission to pause, to listen, to wonder. The answers you're seeking might already be within you, they just need a little quiet to come to the surface. The beauty of solitude is that it's not just about creativity and problem solving. It's also about personal growth. When you spend time alone, you have the opportunity to connect with your inner self. It's a time for clarity, reflection, and reevaluation. You can reconnect with your values, goals, and dreams. Being alone allows you to detach from the noise of the world and reconnect with what truly matters to you. It's in these moments that you realize whether you're on the right path or if a course correction is needed. You begin to see life through a clearer lens, without the distractions that can cloud your judgment. Solitude also builds resilience. It teaches us to trust our instincts, face discomfort, and grow in ways that group settings simply can't provide. As we spend time alone, we realize that we don't need external validation to feel good about ourselves. We come to understand that our worth isn't dependent on others, it's built from within. Solitude is often misunderstood. It's seen as something to be avoided, a gap to be filled, a signal that something is missing. But the truth is, solitude is one of the most powerful environments for becoming. When you give yourself time alone, truly alone, free from distractions, notifications, and the opinions of others, you begin to notice things you hadn't before. You start to hear your inner voice again, that quiet whisper that knows what you truly want, what you truly believe, and who you're truly meant to be. Alone time is more than a break from the world, it's a return to your center. It's in that stillness that you start to reconnect with your values, what matters to you when no one else is watching, when you're not performing, pleasing, or proving. You reflect on your goals, not the ones that were handed to you by society or family expectations, but the ones that light you up inside. Dreams that got buried under the busyness start to breathe again. You begin to evaluate your path, not through comparison, but through alignment. Is this where I want to go? Does this reflect who I am becoming? These are the questions that can only be answered in solitude. Because when you're constantly surrounded by voices, no matter how well-intentioned, you risk losing sight of your own. Solitude clears the fog. It's not an escape from life, but a chance to see life more clearly, to strip away the noise, the masks, and the pressure until you're left with something honest, you. And this clarity doesn't just make you feel better, it changes you. Because solitude isn't always comfortable. Sometimes, in the quiet, things you've been avoiding will surface. Fears, insecurities, doubts. But here's the beauty in that: solitude builds resilience. It teaches you how to sit with discomfort, how to face emotions without numbing or running. You begin to realize that you're stronger than you thought, not because you've avoided pain, but because you've learned to face it and grow through it. You stop outsourcing your confidence to the approval of others. You stop waiting for validation to feel worthy. Instead, you start building that sense of worth from the inside out. In solitude, you rediscover your own strength, your ability to self-soothe, to self-encourage, to self-lead. And that internal trust? It's unshakable. No applause can create it, and no criticism can take it away. That's where personal growth truly begins, not in a classroom or a course, but in the honest, unfiltered mirror of time spent with yourself. In solitude, you start to become your own guide, your own friend, your own source of clarity. And with every quiet moment, every still breath, you come closer to a version of yourself that is calm, clear, grounded, and ready. Ready to step back into the world not as someone trying to keep up, but as someone who knows exactly who they are. Now that we've discussed why solitude is so powerful, let's talk about how you can embrace it in your own life to unlock your creative potential. Here are a few simple practices to incorporate solitude into your routine. 1. Create a designated, quiet space. Find a place where you can be free from distractions. It could be a cozy corner of your home, a quiet park, or even a secluded spot at a local cafe. 2. Set aside intentional alone time. It's easy to get caught up in the busyness of life. Schedule time for yourself to think, journal, or simply be present with your thoughts. 3. Practice mindfulness. Meditation or mindful walking can help clear your mind and allow your creativity to flow freely. 4. Embrace boredom. Don't feel like you have to fill every moment of solitude with something productive. Sometimes, allowing yourself to be bored opens the door to your most innovative thoughts. 5. Reflect regularly. Take time to reflect on your goals, progress, and the challenges you're facing. Use solitude to assess where you are and where you're going. Remember, creativity isn't something you have to chase or force. It's something that comes to life in the quiet spaces between moments. Solitude isn't a punishment, and it's certainly not a sign of loneliness. It's a tool. A tool that, when used intentionally, can unlock your potential for innovation, growth, and clarity. So, the next time you feel the need to retreat, don't hesitate. Use that time to tap into the quiet genius inside of you. You might just find that the best ideas come not from crowds, but from the stillness of being alone.